Hi everyone, just a friendly warning. I realize that I forgot to mention this at the beginning, so I'll do it now. There are spoilers for the Queen's Gambit mentioned in this episode, so if you haven't watched it already and you plan to and you don't want it to be spoiled, I suggest you pause this episode and go watch the series before listening. However, if you've already watched it or if you don't plan to watch the Queen's Gambit for some reason, then you've been warned. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of You Have My Attention. I have the Midnight Bat with me here again.
And we're going to be talking about chess.
Yes, we're going to talk about chess. So, lately, we've been learning more about chess. And we've played a few games against each other. And we're going to talk about why we, started to learn more about it and why we've been more inspired. So just to kind of start off with a little bit of background information about chess. So chess is a 2-player board game. It's strategy based. The board consists of 64 squares of 8 rows and 8 columns. These are arranged in a checkerboard pattern with alternating colors. And for each side, the pieces consist of 1 king, 1 queen, 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 2 knights, and 8 pawns.
Well, basically the reason why we're talking about chess is because of this show that we watched called The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, and that show made me start liking chess. So I just really like it, and I think I only played chess, but not for real, like when I was a kid, because I didn't know all the rules and I kept forgetting them, and so I just acted like I knew, but I didn't really know.
So you would just pretend to play? Like, was it by yourself or with other people?
Well, it was like with my sister, but like that's it.
So just for fun, you guys just like played with the pieces?
Because it came like with a set of like, it came like with other games inside it, like checkers. I don't know if you remember that, but I knew how to play checkers. It's way easier. It's way easier to understand and to play checkers.
Yeah, it's a simpler game. There's a lot less rules.
Yeah, there's so many rules to chess
pieces.
that I was like, ugh, why are there so many? And I always keep forgetting the way that the pawns move, but I think I'm remembering now the more I play it.
Yeah, so do you want to go over how each one moves?
You should say that one because I always forget.
Okay, so basically the king can move 1 square in any direction. The exception is when you do a move called castling. But I guess we might explain that later. But then basically the object of the game is to capture the opponent's king.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to aim for. You kind of want to have the king in a situation where they can't get out of, they can't move anywhere to where they'll be safe, or another piece can't block one of your movements that would basically attack or threaten the king.
Is there any way to capture a king with a bishop? Because every time I try to play it, like, it could only move diagonally, but like it's like I can't move it.
Yeah, if you corner the king and then you have other pieces that are blocking the king from moving in other directions, yeah, you can definitely.
Because I tried and I was like, how come every direction that I move is not in the path of the king? It's weird. So I don't know.
Well, basically you have to remember, so you have 2 bishops and 1 bishop will always land on the lighter squares and the other bishop will always land on the darker squares. If you notice, yeah.
So you have to use that one that is on the darker one?
No, it just depends on where your king is and what the situation is and where your other pieces are that are blocking the king or threatening the king. So when you put the king in a threatening situation, not yet captured, but like risk, like the king has to make a move or you have to make a move with another piece, that's called check. The other, the person that does that has put the other person's king in check. And then checkmate is when you've won the game, is basically when you can't move any other piece or the king in any place where it won't result in an illegal move.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't really know all of the Because there's so many different ways that you can play it, and I'm just like, this is so hard. I want to be good, but I just can't remember all the rules, and yeah, it's
the
just
more
really
you play
hard.
it, the easier it gets, and the more you learn about it and practice, and you won't have to like think about it too much in terms of how each piece moves, because that'll just become natural over time. But you just have to play it a lot, I think.
I think I'm just really fascinated by the craftsmanship of each like physical chess set. Like we have one that's like a Harry Potter one, and I just really like the way the pieces look because they look different than other chess sets. So I just think I'm just fascinated by it. And now that I'm thinking about it, I wish I could make some actual pieces,
like chess pieces. That would be
yeah,
cool.
like out of wood or something.
Yeah, often a lot of the ones that I see, they're like, usually they look like they're made out of wood.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the way the pieces move. So that's how the king moves, right? One
nerdy
space
stuff, chess stuff.
Yeah, one space in any direction. The only exception is castling, which I'll go to. I might talk about later. But anyway, the queen is the next piece, and that's your most powerful piece. It can move any direction across the board, so it can go.
But it can
forward,
move like
backward.
all the way, right?
As long it can go all the way. Like, it can move diagonally all the way across the board. It can move forward all the way across the board as long as it's not blocked by another piece. In which case, I could actually capture that piece. It can move, forward, backward, diagonally. Yeah. So any of those directions all the way across the board. So it's a very powerful piece. And
yeah, that one's the best. That one's the most fun to play with because you can move the most. And my least favorite ones are the pawns because you can only move forward. I'm like, that's it. That's literally it.
Until you reach the other side. Okay, I'll move on to I want to get to those other pieces as well. So after the queen, you have two rooks on either when you're starting
end of the
starting position. Yeah, the starting positions, you have the rooks on the corners, right, on the back row, and those can move forward or sideways all the way across the board. So you can move one space, or you can move all the way across, like to one side, or all the way forward. Then you have the bishops, which you've already kind of mentioned, how they move diagonally. And each player has two, and they each can move. So basically you have one that's going to be on on the light squares, and another one that's always going to be on dark squares. And then you have two knights, and those move in an L shape. So L means two, either forward, back, or left, or right, two spaces, and then in a different direction another space. So like you'll say you can move your knight up two and then left one square, or up two squares, right one square, or sideways two squares and then up, like that. They move in L shapes. And then you have the 8 pawns, which can only move forward, the exception being when it comes to capturing. So they capture diagonally one space.
Didn't you say that chess was based on a different game?
Yes. So basically chess, the origins, it comes from another game. It can be traced all the way back actually over 1,000 years ago.
Jeez.
Yes, a predecessor in India. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but it's Chaturanga, I believe. From India, it then spread to Persia, and then through the Arab invasion and conquest of Persia, it was taken up in the Muslim world, and then eventually it spread to Spain and then the rest of Europe.
So it has a long history.
Yes. It's believed it also spread to other parts of Asia through India. So like from India, went to China through Buddhists that traveled from India to China. And there's other variations of similar games. They have similar rules with a few differences. I don't believe I can't remember all the the little specifics of how different they are, but yeah, basically that's the root of the game. That's basically where it came from.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been around a long time. It's developed through that long period of time. And the origin of checkmate comes from that same original or game, and it's like Shahmat, I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's to English, that when translated to English, it pretty much sounds like checkmate. So that's where that comes from.
So it's an old game, but it's like more newer to me because of the Queen's Gambit, the show.
Yes.
So I really want to talk about the show. Like, I don't know anything about the history. I just like the show, and the game is fun, but I want to be good like Beth, but I'm not.
Yeah,
obviously, because she's very, very like well trained in it and everything. So
yeah, so I guess we can get into that. So we were really impressed by the show. The storyline, the acting, the costumes, the set design,
the cinematography.
Yes, they're really well done. And so because of that, the series has received widespread critical acclaim.
And it won a lot of awards. I looked on the Wikipedia, and it won like so many. I was
we
actually,
noticed as we were like reading up about it, just kind of casually, not too super serious research, but just to have a better idea. We were not completely aware. I mean, I knew it was well received, but I didn't know it had won that many awards. So the original, it's called the Netflix original. It was released on October 23rd, 2020, and it was really wildly popular when it came out. Within a few weeks, it had been, I think, become the most watched.
And
Netflix
I knew
series.
about I knew when it came out because I kept seeing the trailers for it and stuff, but I didn't really like watch it until more recently, and I just really love it.
So the series also, it's based on a novel called The Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. Many say that this show made such a big impact in the world of chess. So the series actually, it really attracted a fresh interest in the world of chess. And even the chess community, they've praised the accuracy of the games shown in the series. The actual chess games that have been played in the show, they're real, and they were even went into they wanted to make sure they were doing a good job, so they actually hired a chess consultant that I believe was a grandmaster.
It should be.
Yes,
because
and they
you don't
made
want
sure the games in the
fake.
show were accurate and that they were realistic. So if you want to go into your favorite characters, so basically the main character of the show is Elizabeth Harmon.
But they call her Beth Harmon.
Yes, she goes by Beth in the series.
And it's basically played by Anya
Anya
Taylor-Joy. I just want to call her Anya.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite characters were Beth and Benny. But I really liked the guy, what's his name? Harry
Beltic.
Yes, but his real name is also Harry, like the actual actor, and
In
he
real
was in
life.
Harry Potter. He played Dudley. So I thought it was so funny that he was in the show, but he was all grown up and obviously a different person. But I was just really impressed by his English, like the what you call it, like his American accent. I was just like, whoa, like he sounds so different. I didn't even know it was him.
His name is Harry Melling.
Yeah. Well, actually, my sister didn't know it was him. But
yeah, I think it took me a second to realize it was him, and
I knew right away, actually.
And then I was like, wait,
because of his
I'm
face.
pretty sure it's that actor from the Harry Potter series. He plays Harry Potter's cousin in the series.
But characters I didn't like, the adoptive mom, she was so annoying. You know what I mean? Like she seemed like really sweet in the beginning, like when they freshly adopted her, but then the mom is just I don't know. I feel like she kind of like uses Beth like for money. You know what I mean? I feel like she was kind of exploiting her a little bit.
Well,
but then I also thought like their relationship was really sweet because she actually, they actually got along and all that stuff. So they would travel the world and play, or Beth would play chess, and she like took her with her because she was still underage and stuff. But I just got really annoyed by the mom because she was not acting like how a mom should, in my opinion. You know, she was like always drinking and then even encouraged her daughter to drink.
The adoptive mom? Yeah.
Yeah, the adoptive mom. And then but the adoptive dad was so much worse because he was like basically ignoring Beth and like acting like she didn't even exist. And then didn't they like, did they get a divorce? I don't remember. Did the adoptive parents get a divorce? If not, I don't remember.
Well, I don't think it was official. I think
he just left. He just like
left
straight
her.
up left.
He had like very little interest in the whole, like, the adoption of Beth, and like very little interest in his wife. Apparently he was always out. I think his job required him to travel, and so he was like not around.
But what pissed me off is when he was literally kicking Beth out of the house because she was, you know, she was doing really well on her own and making money off of playing chess.
You're talking
and she
about
was trying
once her adoptive mother passed away.
Yeah, and so when she passed away, the dad was like, "Well, get out of my house," but she's like, "You don't even live here." You know what I mean? Like, you don't even come around. You don't even care about your wife that passed away.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated with Beth because, well, like, you know, she was an orphan. Her mother passed away when she was young. She went to an orphanage. I don't know if they were very clear on what happened with her dad. Her mom had like mental health issues, but
they did show her biological father though, but he was like,
he left.
Yeah, but then also her biological mother was kind of trying to fight him off and being like, "Oh, she's my daughter," and like she would just like keep her locked in the house, but they were like arguing, and so it was like a whole thing.
She had, but it was pretty clear that she had some mental health issues, and she, I don't know if I read this or if I understood this from when I watched it, but she was very smart, but she definitely had some issues and problems with her biological father and Beth's biological father.
Yeah, and so well, in the beginning of the show, she's, you know, in the orphanage and she's still a little kid, and you know, she doesn't really like have friends or anything yet, except for like one girl. But there's a janitor that works in the orphanage that actually teaches her how to play chess. And you know, the part that I thought was crazy was that how she was able to like play chess with herself, like in her mind, like when she was just like looking up at the ceiling and imagining the chess pieces like moving on the board. I'm like, how do you think like that? How are you able to do that?
Yeah, she's basically a prodigy, right? Because how many people, when they learn chess, see chess and like play themselves, like, or go over games like that mentally in that way? Like, that's pretty crazy. But there are some themes within the series of, you know, mental health problems, family conflict, including like abandonment, right? Like, it's kind of a theme that's explored through with her biological father, her, you know, her mother passing away, her adoptive mother, her adoptive father, who is pretty much doesn't care, as you mentioned, and that kind of ties into some of the substance abuse. That is another theme within the series. So it's really weird how when she goes to that orphanage and then they have like everybody take medication, everyone there's on medication.
It was like some kind of tranquilizer, and I looked it up, and the tranquilizer isn't a real one, but I think it's based off a different drug.
Yeah, I don't know which one they're alluding to, but yeah, it's weird how they have everybody taking it, and then like for Beth, it becomes an addiction to this medication, and then
the addiction extends to when she's an adult too.
Yeah, it keeps going, but she's introduced through that, you know, orphanage circumstance at the orphanage, and then at one point they stop giving it to the girls at the orphanage, and she's
still addicted,
experiencing withdrawals from it. So yeah, that's interesting. So she has trouble at the orphanage, but the one I guess, silver lining of her being there is that she was taught chess by, the custodian who taught her. And he actually gives her the first entry fee. Like, he gives her, like, he lets her borrow money later on after she's been adopted to go play in a tournament, in her first chess tournament.
Yeah, and then that's when she kind of learns that girls aren't really, like common in the chess world. Like, they're not, it's literally, it's like a boys club basically. Like, it's a bunch of dudes.
So we should mention this series is set in the 50s and 60s. So it's not like a modern day story. It's like in a different time, different situations for women and girls. So that's definitely the case there, with there not being girls involved in the, tournaments. So, yeah, like you said, boys clubs situation. But she quickly proves that she's more than capable of beating a lot of the people that she plays. She does really well, even from the beginning. There's a scene where she's playing, I think it's like 10 games simultaneously against high school students.
Yeah, in a chess club, and, she beats them all like nothing.
Yeah.
And then that really impresses
the high school teacher.
Yeah, the high school teacher. And then she enters that tournament, and then she plays, all the people in the tournament. But then, she has to beat Harry Beltic, and, she ends up beating him. Mm-hmm. So that kind of like was her, that was like her starting point to, all the tournaments and all that. Because the whole show is her following her during the tournaments, all over the country basically, or all over the world actually.
Yeah, so eventually she goes like to national tournaments, international tournaments, and she travels. Her adoptive mother, goes along with her. She's at one point she's still in school, and her mother kind of gets her excuses saying like, oh, she's sick, oh, she can't go, blah blah blah, to get her out of having to go to school so she can go to some of these tournaments, which is some questionable behavior. But she does really well, and then until she gets to a tournament in Mexico City, and her adoptive mother passes away there, and she's very upset, and she has a lot of grief from the loss of her adoptive mother, even though she wasn't like she was only living with her for a few years, right? Not very long before.
Yeah, I mean, she was still like a teenager, I think, when she got adopted. And then she became of age, and then I think was she still a teenager?
She was like 17 or 18, I think.
Yeah, I think she was like correctly. About to be an adult, like when her mom dies,
so
or something.
Was near that. It was near that time, but yeah. So then she continues on with her tournaments, and she, meets other people in the chess world, and continues to develop her playing strategy, and all those things. So.
Also, really she kind of, what I like is that she kind of develops her own sense of fashion too. And so since she's getting all this money from the tournaments, she uses that money to like, feed her fashion, her love of fashion.
Interest, yeah.
Yeah, but then also like she's still addicted, and like she's drinking,
Yeah,
so it's sad.
It gets harder for her after her adoptive mother passes away, and then she wins some tournaments, but then I think there's one that she loses, or I don't remember exactly the timeline of everything, but she does eventually have like a lower point where, I don't know if you call it rock bottom or not, but she like starts to do very poorly in the sense of like with her issues with substance abuse. It gets gets worse, and then she kind of she gets some help from people. Harry Beltic comes and checks on her, and like her friend from the orphanage finds her, gets in contact with her, and then she ends up going to beat a grandmaster,
in Russia,
which is like insane. Although at the time it's not called Russia, right? It's the time of the Soviet Union.
Well, so. Yes, but I just like how she like goes the extra mile and starts learning Russian. And so when, you know, she's at one of the tournaments, like the Russian people, they're like talking in Russian about her. Like she's like in an elevator.
Yeah, the Soviets, they're like discussing about her, and she's like,
she knew what they were saying.
She knew what they were saying, but they didn't know that she knew because she had studied, you know, Russian at a community college. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. And I love like all the characters that she like runs into in the tournaments. It's a lot of the times the same people, but I love Benny though, because he also has like a really unique sense of style too, and you know, he's really good at those quick games of chess, and you know, he beats her and like they play for money, and you know, she's like really like pressed about it because you know, she isn't as good as in the quick games, but she's better in the normal games. But then at one point she goes to his apartment in New York, and you know, they're really getting into I guess this, you know, he's like kind of teaching her a little bit of the strategies that he, you know,
uses
that he got from like a bunch of different books. And she's also, you know, studying and learning, and she also learned from Harry Beltic too, but you know, but they like, she really needs the help of her friends basically, you know, in order to win that very last game with that, you know, Russian guy.
Yeah, the Soviet grandmaster. So basically Beth, she does need a lot of help. I think that really reminds me of the whole concept of the self-made man or woman. There's a speech by Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is, right? He's the former...
I think everybody knows.
Yeah, governor of California, very famous. He gave a speech at not an award show. It was at a graduation. It was a college graduation. I don't remember which university it was. It was years back, but he talked about the self-made man, and he said that he will never call himself a self-made man, because he says it doesn't exist. Basically, he talks about how when he came to the U.S. and he was like, you know, an immigrant with not a lot of money, he was struggling and, you know, trying his best to make something of himself here. You know, he was trying to go for the what do you call it?
So he got a lot of help, basically.
Yeah, he was trying to go for the bodybuilding stuff, you know. That was his goal. And he talks about how some guys from the gym that he was going to, they like on Thanksgiving, they went and they like, you know, brought food and everything. And he was talking about how like there's no such thing as a self-made man. It's not real. It's a myth, because really everybody gets help from someone in some way. They have support from family or friends or otherwise. You know, yeah. I mean, or other people.
Yeah, so Kylie Jenner can't say that she's a self-made billionaire.
Yeah,
because she had a lot of help.
Of a self-made man or woman, that's not really realistic, because everybody receives help, something along the way, you know. In order to get to that point. Yeah, and this is really something that I think is shown in this series, is that Beth is very talented. She's very smart. She's a prodigy, a chess prodigy. Many people could argue that, right? But she was, you know, she had her struggles. She had her challenges. She had, you know, her family background was, like, you know, combination of sad, tragic, and complicated. And, you know, her upbringing was difficult. So, but I think even if she had an ideal, like, upbringing, if things had been completely different, we don't know what would have happened. We don't know if she would have even gotten into chess in the first place, right? Because she obviously has this natural talent of, you know, strategy and like calculations and, you know, things like that. But she had help too. She worked very hard, but she did receive help. She wouldn't have beat some people without the help of, you know, her friends that trained her, and so the support that she got from others. You know, if Mr. Scheibel hadn't taught her, you know, if you know, Harry Beltic hadn't, you know, formed a friendship with her and, he hadn't like offered to train her, if her adoptive mother, even though she wasn't the perfect parent, or even close to an ideal parent, if she hadn't been supported enough to go with her, and during the games too, you could see when her adoptive mother was going with her to tournaments, she was telling her uplifting things. She was encouraging her. She was telling her how like you can beat them, and she would say like, why don't you take a break, why don't you go she would see how Beth was like studying and cramming before the matches, and she would kind of tell her like, hey, go have a little fun before, it's going to be better for you than you just stressing right before. And the friends that she made too, they helped her along the way. So yeah, that's something that I thought about a lot, I think, when I watched the series this time around. I've watched it twice. I believe I watched it the first time around when it came out, and recently with you. But yeah, that's something that stood out to me.
Also, another thing about the show, I did not like how... Okay, so when she was, a kid and she played her first real tournament, she met that guy, another fellow chess player named Towns, and she had like a massive crush on him, and she's like in love with him throughout the show basically, but she like gets with other guys. She's infatuated with him. The thing that I don't like about it is that it's creepy, because he's like, when they met, she was a kid and he was like in his 20s, and she's like, I'm in love with... I looked it up. It said he was like in his 20s or something, and I think
it wasn't clear to me what his age was. That is weird.
He looked way older than her. It was very clear that
I could tell there was a big age gap, but I wasn't sure what age he was when they met.
I think they met when she was like 14 or 15 or something. I think she was 14.
I didn't know if he was like 16 or 17 or what age he was supposed to be. It can be hard to tell sometimes what age someone's, unless they explicitly mention. But I could tell later on he was definitely in his 20s. He
was very, I don't know. I just thought that part was creepy, but that's fine, It's, there's always things like that. And, in different time frames, people think that it's acceptable.
Or they don't see it as...
They don't see it as wrong.
As wrong as we do now. But yeah. That was something that I guess stood out to you.
Yeah.
But anything else that did you connect with any of the characters? What did you think about?
Well, I really like, obviously the main character, Beth, like she's so great, but I really loved Benny too. And Beltic was really good too, because, he seemed like he really wanted, even though his level of, in chess, like his skill level wasn't as good as Beth's, he really wanted to help her, and he lived with her for a little bit, and they like were studying chess books together, and she was learning from all that, and she learned a lot from Benny too, because he's like, one of the great chess players in their, like, I guess age group or whatever, or actually not even in their age group, just in general. So I just thought their relationship was really interesting, because they could relate to each other, and he was helping her, and it was just I don't know, like I liked their back and forth, banter and all that. And Jolene was cool. I really liked how they brought back Jolene at the end, because
she loans her some money to go to those last tournaments.
Yeah, so it was really with the help of Jolene and her other friends that she was able to beat, that grandmaster guy, and so she became a grandmaster. And so, yeah, I just really loved it. Really loved the show.
I think I also, one of my favorites is definitely the janitor, Mr. Scheibel, who taught her.
Yeah.
And he was a good teacher. I think also I like that scene towards the end where Beth and Jolene go back to the orphanage, and they also go to Mr. Scheibel's funeral, because they find out that he passed away, and they see at the orphanage that he had all these like newspaper and magazine clippings.
Oh yeah, she like went down to where he was working, and he had that bulletin board
where he had
pictures,
his working space, and how he had all these clippings of like her winning tournaments, and like he had a picture of them when she was residing there when she was young, when he was teaching her, and that was really cool. I thought that was really really good.
Yeah, that was sweet, and she got really
Yeah.
emotional over it.
Yeah, I thought that was cool how he, being her teacher and still supporting her from afar. That was cool, following her trajectory.
True. Do you want to talk about wizard's chess?
Yeah, so I know for you kind of mentioned it. Well, I'm not. I'm definitely an amateur chess player. I mean, we both are, right? We're not like we've never played it seriously. Just kind of played each other and played the computer on like chess.com or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you mentioned that one of your inspirations that for wanting to learn chess was
Harry
Potter
Wizard's chess.
So basically, in the Harry Potter series, they have wizard's chess. I remember it being more present in the first book and the movie, but I know it's kind of like mentioned in the other books, and I think in the movies it kind of shows up a little bit in the background, but definitely you see it more in the first.
Yeah, they mention it in the first and second book, and it's just like regular chess, but like the pieces are alive basically,
yeah,
and so they'll hit each other.
Yeah. So that's the difference between wizards and what they would call in the Harry Potter world Muggle chess.
Yeah.
The pieces are kind of like alive. I guess I don't know if they say some kind of spell or if that's just how the chess set works once you open the box or whatever. But you basically tell them where to move as if they were your troops. It's like you're the commander or something. And if you're familiar with the pieces and they like you, like the pieces like you as a person or a person who owns a chess set or plays with the chess set, it's easier for you to get them to move. So in the series, Ron, his chess set is like a hand-me-down. I think it was his grandfather's or something. So it's like an old chess set. And mind you, these pieces, like, they actually like hit each other. So his pieces are like looking rough and everything. But they know Ron really well and they like Ron. So like it's easy for him to get them to move the way he wants them to. And that actually gives you some advantage if you're like familiar with your chess set and your chess set pieces like you. It's also amusing that the pieces will actually act out and get upset if you don't give them enough attention. Like if you're like, hey, are you ever going to move me?
Oh my god, that is so funny.
Or they can even give you advice or feedback if they think you need it, or if they don't trust your judgment, which I know happened to, I don't know if it was Harry or Seamus Finnegan. I think Harry was playing with Seamus Finnegan's set at one point or something. I remember reading something about that. But yeah, that's funny, and it's definitely interesting the way it's set up in the wizarding world.
I just like how in the first one there's at the there's the scene at the end of the first movie where they're trying to like win that big wizard chess game to like basically
get to the Sorcerer's Stone.
And Ron is like, he like actually like sits on the freaking like, what is it called, the knight, like the horse.
It's like a human-sized chess set.
Yeah, like
in that scene.
Yeah.
And you know who set that up, right? It was Professor McGonagall. She was the one who was like, we're gonna put a chess set, like, yeah, if you want to get to the that was one of the things.
Oh, I think they like briefly mentioned it in the book, but I forgot about that. But I just like that line that Ron says where he's telling Harry that he needs to like, get across and win. He's like, not me, not Hermione, you.
Yeah, because I think him, Hermione, and Harry all like mount or like get on a piece as the game moves, and then Ron kind of commands the pieces because he's like the best one of the three when it comes to chess. He's like the best at it.
He said, I'll be a knight.
Yeah, he chooses a knight. Harry chooses a bishop, I think, and Hermione chooses a rook, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, Hermione doesn't really like wizard's chess.
Yeah, she even loses a game, right? And then at the beginning when she's learning how to play.
I don't know, but I just remember in the movie she just says, "That's totally barbaric."
Yeah, because she sees Ron playing it, and she sees how wizard's chess is like, you know, how the pieces actually attack each other and all that. She's like, "What?"
I feel like if wizard's chess was real, I feel like you would be like that. So you'd be like, ugh, why do they have to
beat each other up like
why
that?
do they have to? Why does it have to be violent?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, you're more like Hermione in that way.
I think it's interesting that Harry picks a bishop. If I remember correctly, he picks a bishop. You know, a lot of chess. I've heard a lot of chess players say, well, really on YouTube, I guess people that are really into it talk about how.
Do you follow like a chess
channel?
I don't.
No, I don't. But I've seen some videos made by like people that are really into chess.
After we started playing and watching Queen's Gambit, I got recommended videos on YouTube about chess and like different plays. Like, you know, like it's like YouTube, what is it called? YouTube Shorts?
Yeah.
Like I kept getting like recommended those chess plays and I would be like, oh my God, I need to get better.
Strategies. There's like, I know I got a few of those and a lot of them were like openings. You know, openings are, it's like your strategy for the first like, I don't know, 5, 6 or so moves. Like, how you start the game.
Yeah.
And also depending on if you get white or black, like the light or the dark pieces, because the lighter pieces are supposed to go first. Whoever has that side of the chessboard, they're supposed to go first.
Yeah.
That's just
the white ones go first.
Yeah, it's the way they go. But yeah, I remember when we were playing, we got a chess set at home and we set it up and we were like confused about how to set it up. We were like,
I literally looked up a video to like figure out how to do it right, and it turns out that like when we started playing, it turns out we had the board facing the wrong way, so we had to fix that.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, not even you caught that. I thought you were like already a chess expert.
Like I said, I've played it like on
with your boyfriend,
on PC,
right?
more, yeah, or like on those, you know, apps or whatever, more than I have with like a physical chess set, and those are already set up. I don't have to set them up myself, so you know, I wasn't sure. And it had been a while since, because there's a point where I was playing it quite a bit, like just in my spare time, in my free time, I was playing against the computer, different levels. Even though like the easy levels are so hard to beat, computers are so hard to play against. They also make moves apparently that are like not human moves, like because they can see so many steps ahead.
Oh yeah,
they'll make moves that a human wouldn't make.
Beth
a human would think that move is weird because they're like, that's too risky, you know. But a computer, because they have seen all these steps ahead.
But Beth Harmon would.
Well,
she would.
We don't know. Maybe.
No, like she would. She's that good. Benny says that she's the best there is, and I believe it.
Yeah. Do you know anything about like grandmasters in real life?
Hell no, I don't know nothing. I just know. Well, I saw like there's a, what is it called? You know how after you're done watching something on Netflix, like the Queen's Gambit, it'll recommend other stuff. Well, it recommended the making of the Queen's Gambit, and I thought it was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just liked how, I guess Anya was like, she was very dedicated and like actually like learned, and you know, she said that she developed her own style in playing chess. So I don't know, I just thought that was interesting because obviously she's not Beth, but she plays Beth, but you know, she has her own style.
Right.
Yeah. What kind of style do you think you have, Ellie?
I don't know. I think it depends on the other person's way of playing, because I think when I play you, I'm pretty like more I play more offense.
Like usually. You will attack immediately.
Well, you know what? When I play a computer, I play more
defensive.
No, I think I play more offensive, which is probably not the best strategy because the computer is very offensive. Maybe the way I should play is more defensive.
Okay.
I think when I play you, it's kind of like a mix.
Yeah, because I want to protect the pieces, but like Ellie's like, let me get them first. Let me catch those.
Usually what I like to do is I try to get the other opponent's pawn, like as much eliminate as many pawns as I can, and like at first. But you know, I really try to get those stronger pieces.
Have you ever beat your boyfriend in chess?
Once, I think.
Only once?
Yeah, I think one, because we've only played a couple times. He taught me how to play.
Well, he does not back down from.
No, he did not go easy.
He does not. He's not the. Even with any board game that we've played, like, he will not go easy on you. Like when we played Clue, he's very like.
No, he's playing to win. Mean?
Yeah. Is that how? Do you feel like you're like that? Not
really, actually. I mean, I want to win, but I don't want to win as badly as like other people do when I played board games against other people. Like some people are way more, you know, trying to win. But with chess it's a little different because it's a 2-player game, right?
Yeah.
And it's not.
Chess is definitely a game I'm not good at. I want to be so good that it shocks people, but like there's no way. Like it's
possible for sure. You have to put. It took me a while before I got better at it. I was really bad at first.
But you have to put so much time and dedication to it. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. If you want to be
really, really good, yes.
Yeah.
If you're a prodigy, it'll come faster and easier to you. But yeah, it's a difficult game. It's not easy at all. I think it's one of the harder board games. I think the hardest board game you can probably play.
Yeah. I like games that are easy.
I like games. You know what? I like games that involve more like physical skill. I think. Like I like playing pool, like on PC. But
I also like games that aren't so competitive.
Do you like games that are more like luck based or
no,
or more skill?
I like the skill ones.
Well, there's skill in chess, right? There's a lot of skill, but it's very strategy based. Whereas there are games that are like skill and strategy, but they're like more leaning towards like the skill. Like I said, like pool, for example, something like darts or something like that.
Ooh, I rather play darts because it's easy to pick up and like, you know, you just throw it. That's it. You don't have to like think too hard.
Well, you do want to try to aim and
yes, but you're not thinking too hard.
It's more laid back to me of a game than chess.
Yeah, I like laid back
stuff. Serious,
stuff.
You know, chess is not like it's fun, but it's serious.
I like ones that are less serious, like Connect 4.
Fun, yeah.
Connect 4, I can beat people, but like. It's so much less serious. It's like
it's quicker too.
It's quicker, you know what I mean? You don't take a million years just to finish a game. You just do it.
That's
right
why
away.
There are versions of chess that are like faster. Like there's speed chess, and then there's also like you only get a certain number of minutes to play, like 5 minutes per player, or you know, you get, you know, a time frame so that it doesn't drag on forever. But if you're playing it just until the next person is ready, like just like that, and there's no like time limit, it can take a long time for sure.
Well, okay, this popped into my head, but I remember I know that in the last Twilight movie or book, they Bella and Edward are playing chess a lot. But I don't remember like if who's really good. Is she just really good at it, or is he good at it? I don't know.
I don't remember. I just remember that they were playing it.
No, yeah. Well, on the cover of the book, it actually shows like those chess pieces on there of
Breaking Dawn.
Breaking Dawn.
Why did they put chess? Is it because
they are playing it? Well, I think it's their honeymoon or something.
Yeah,
they're playing a bunch of chess, but yeah, no, I'm not good at chess at all, but. You know, I want to be good.
Are you going to keep playing?
Yeah, but like, I don't like playing you because you keep winning and I want to win at least one time.
But I beat you, but I take a while because you put up a really good fight. Like it's
okay. Yeah.
It's never a fast like checkmate situation. It's always like, there's been a couple times, I think, or at least once where it's been like a stalemate. Like I was close to getting you to checkmate, but then you moved in a way and I didn't. You moved in your pieces in a way and I didn't kind of foresee that resulted in us being a stalemate, which is basically like the game will just go on forever because there's no way for either one to win. Like I couldn't get you into checkmate and you couldn't get me into checkmate.
Yeah,
you couldn't completely get out of it, so where you could get me, there.
That was the closest I ever came to winning, and I was like, haha, you didn't win.
I thought I was gonna win because I think at that point I had eliminated like almost all of your pieces. I think you only had like a pawn
but
left.
You didn't
with the
win.
king.
But you didn't win.
I didn't. I messed up. And I didn't think about the whole stalemate situation so much because I had you pretty cornered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think the more we play, the better you'll get.
Okay. Well.
And if you really wanted to get more serious, you could study like openings and different defense strategies, and then you can become even better. Have you seen those examples where you checkmate someone in like very few moves? Because
I have actually.
If you make some mistakes in the beginning, you can get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, I've seen those where it was like one video. And it was like how to beat someone in like 3 moves or something like that.
It's called the Fool's Mate is one of them, right? There's one that's called the Fool's Mate.
Because that play only works if the other person doesn't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So
and they don't know what they're doing, and they make specific moves.
Yeah, so that's very, very. There's a very low chance for that to work, with another person.
Mm-hmm. I think earlier I mentioned the way pawns move. The pawn, for its first move, it can move 2 spaces forward. I forgot to mention that.
That's okay.
And then the castling thing, basically, you can castle on either side, king side or queen side, and that's where you kind of...
Isn't that where you move the rook next to...
Yeah, you move the king 2 spaces to either the left or right, and then the rook on the side of where you moved your king towards, it moves to the opposite side of the king that it was on. And you can only do that if you haven't moved the king or the rook at all.
And that protects it better.
That particular rook and the king. Yeah, that kind of provides some extra protection for the king. It puts it in a more protective position. So that's like a defense mechanism or strategy component. But yeah, that's like the basics, I guess. Or we didn't mention any openings because I don't know any openings. I've just heard some of them, but I don't know them.
Yeah.
By heart yet. So that's pretty much it, right?
Chess, everybody.
Yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate the Queen's Gambit?
The show?
Yes.
Oh my god, it's a 10. I was like obsessed with it.
You think it's the best Netflix like series that you've seen?
Do you mean Netflix original or just show on Netflix in general?
No, original.
Netflix original, probably.
Yeah, I would have to say that it's the best series. I think I can't think.
The best show ever on Netflix right now, currently, Breaking Bad.
Is it on?
It's not a Netflix original, but it's on Netflix.
Yeah, you like it more than The Walking Dead. I know you're a big
The Walking Dead is like up there too. The Walking Dead is probably after.
Rank
Breaking
Queen's
Bad.
Gambit, Breaking Bad, or Walking Dead. Rank them.
Breaking Bad will always be number 1. I think Walking Dead is second because there's more content, more episodes, more things to enjoy, more characters. Queen's Gambit is third, but it's so good. And it's the best Netflix original, in my opinion, because a lot of Netflix originals are shitty, in my opinion. Yeah, especially the movies. Like, remember that...
There's some good ones in there sprinkled, though, like Bird Box and a few others.
Yeah, but they're rare. Like, they don't make good, like, very good ones often.
There's good ones, and then there's, like, okay ones, and then there's bad ones. It's like a mix. It's really a mix there.
Yeah, but a lot of them are bad, so I don't watch them.
Yeah, so you recommend The Queen's Gambit. I recommend it too. If you haven't
highly
watched
recommend it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yes.
There's a lot of spoilers in this episode, so if you haven't watched it, it's still gonna be good. It's still gonna be good, right?
If they didn't want spoilers, they would have stopped listening already.
Yeah, hopefully you've watched it already.
If you didn't, sorry about it.
At this point.
Sorry about it.
But
Beth beats everybody. Okay. Spoiler, Beth beats everybody.
She loses a few games along the way.
No, yes, but she beats the guy who's, the Grandmaster, the big bad boss.
Yeah.
Basically the Bowser of the whole show.
The Bowser.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all we have for this week. Thank you for joining us. Talk to y'all later.
Bye, chess lovers.